Welcome to the Gold Medal Excellence Podcast. I'm your host, Alexander Payne, along with my co-host, Chris Asher. And today on the program, I'm joined by Brock Drazen. Brock, thanks for coming on the program.
All right. Just want to say something. Sorry about that. I want to say something excited about Brock. Brock is the head track and field coach and athletic director at Merritt College. So I think he's got some good information out there for you parents, athletes who have questions just about track and field training in college and attending a junior college or going to a university. So we'll get into some questions like that. Thanks, Brock.
Thanks for inviting me on, Chris and Alex. Appreciate it.
All right, so I'm going to start with the very beginning. Talk about where you were born and what were you like as a kid growing up?
Born in Binghamton, New York, upstate New York. A lot of snow. A lot of snow. I started loving sports at an early age, maybe like 6 or 7 years old, and was kind of a junkie for every sport on TV that I could watch, including like bowling or roller derby. Didn't matter, whatever it was. But I followed all sports on TV, and who, back then in the early 70s, the A's were a dynasty and the Raiders were a dynasty.
Yeah.
And so even though we didn't have, the multiple networks that we have now, a lot of times the Oakland teams were on TV, and no idea that, in my later life that I would spend, 36 years so far in Oakland, California, living life out here. So.
Yeah, you're right. The A's were phenomenal, and the Raiders were phenomenal back then. So Oakland for a small city, at least how the country perceives it. It's a big market, but it's San Francisco's stepchild or stepbrother, but it produced really good teams. So
yeah, and they were fun to watch as a kid. And I was a New York fan growing up. I rooted for the Yankees. I thought the Yankees were the underdogs. And they didn't win the World Series until I was 13 years old. And, little did I know now what the Yankees represent compared to the Oakland team. So I thought I was rooting for the underdogs, and who knew? And that was the beginning of the Yankees stealing all the A's great players over the years.
You attended Hobart and William Smith Colleges, a private Division III liberal arts college in Geneva, New York. Tell me about what that experience was like.
A lot of snow. It was a small liberal arts school. It was about 1,500 students. As a kid, I wrote in fourth grade. We had to write letters to colleges, and I wrote to Ohio State and some of the bigger universities that had great sports programs. I always rooted for the Buckeyes and the Rose Bowl, and but my aunt convinced me to apply to a lot of these smaller liberal arts colleges, and that's what I did in upstate New York, and hit the road with my dad and checked all these schools out, and that was the one we settled on. So definitely a really nice experience. A small college, small classrooms, a lot of attention on the student, and I got a liberal arts degree. I got a degree in history. So there you go.
No, I'm glad you actually mentioned that, Brock, because I want to talk to coaches from different schools and backgrounds. It's good you say that, having that experience being at a junior college, because a lot of people ask me, well, how are these smaller schools? And I've never went to a really extremely small school like that. But from what I've told people is you get a lot of personal attention. The classroom sizes are small. It's, I've heard it's a lot more difficult too as well, because had a lot of them, but it's good, you had that experience, and, you can share that, because a lot of people who are really big schools want to go to these small schools, or they want to know what that Division III experience is about, just as a student.
Yeah, There was a challenge. I remember in a political science class in my second semester of freshman year, I disappeared for about 3 weeks. Uh, and when I came back, the professor kind of I'm sitting way in the back, and he marched up the stairs of the little lecture area, and he stood over me and he said, "Are you in this class?" Yeah, that was embarrassing. Uh,
So,
so yeah, they can keep an eye on you when it's a small school. So
absolutely.
Mhm. Graduated in 1986 and then got your JD at the University of San Francisco in 1991. Tell me about the process of what getting a JD was like and what shaped your decision to move to the Bay Area.
um, well, I really didn't like snow. I didn't like winter. And growing up and seeing all these Oakland teams and the Rose Bowl, and there wasn't the internet didn't exist. You only had sort of encyclopedias,
Yeah.
and I just thought California was one big beach. That was one big beach, and I just thought it would be the greatest thing to come out and live out here.
Yeah.
Um, I had some roots out here. My aunt lives moved out here in the 70s, and my grandmother, maternal side, moved out here in the early 80s. So I got in my car, which was an Aries, I don't know what it was, a Dodge Aries 5-speed station wagon, and loaded it up and drove out to California with the intention that I was never going back to winter. And, when I got out here, you're driving through Tahoe and Reno and all that, and it was snowing. As it said, "Welcome to California." It was snowing, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, "Oh no,
Oh,
all my dreams
I was
crushed."
bamboozled.
So bamboozled into moving to California. But yeah, I moved out here and I started, I always again was involved in athletics, and my intention was to get involved out here in athletics. And the first thing I did when I got out here was I walked over to the RSF, the recreational facility at Cal, which was really close by, and just walked in there and asked if there was any jobs available. And back in those days, I guess you could do that. I got hired. I just did whatever jobs they had
Yeah.
for me there, and then I got referred out to an after school sports program. I did a PE job at a private high school. So I was on my way to kind of trying to figure out in athletics what I could do. I wrote to the A's. I have my rejection letter from the A's and the Warriors. I saved those, not because I felt I was qualified and was cheated, but it was just
Yeah.
cool to get a response from teams like that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, my dad always wanted me to pursue law school. I will say, my family was always about education and having that degree, professional degree that I could. My dad always said no matter what happened, I could always fall back on that. And so eventually, after about 2 years out here, I did the LSAT exam and applied to law schools, and got into USF, and had no idea really what law school was all about.
Mhm.
So my first year, it was pretty thrilling. It was a really interesting academic pursuit doing law school, and very challenging. First year was exciting. Second year was really, really tough. I think I got physical ailments from the stress that never left me. I still have the ticks in my legs from trying to get through law school.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then got through the third year and studied for the bar for a couple months. And that was like a boxing match, just getting ready for that, the preparation required to pull it all together after 3 years of law school. And and get ready for that exam, which was a 3-day exam. And it really did feel like a boxing match. Like sometimes I was throwing the blows, and
Yeah.
sometimes I was getting knocked around pretty good. But I knew when I was preparing for it, I thought to myself, there's no way I wanted to go to my mailbox and open that letter and say that I didn't pass. So I just kept thinking about, that couple months down the line, I really wanted that letter to say I had passed the bar. What was I going to do after I passed the bar? That was another question. But I was, I'm living moment to moment.
Yeah.
So,
That's impressive, because I was going to ask you that. I have friends who've gone to law school. I have a buddy that's gone to law school, and I had a couple guys, and they were famous. One of them ran track, for a while, whatever. But they're high-end lawyers now, but they study for the bar. They tell me it's the hardest thing in their life. And one of them failed at least 2 or 3 times, and one of my buddies I think he failed 4 or 5. He got to like the last. He was like, if I don't pass it this time, I'm not doing law anymore. And then he passed it, but So, and you went to UCSF, so that just you had to be with some really smart people, and the discipline for that has to be. I didn't even know the bar was 3 days. I mean, I knew it was a while, but
yeah, 3 days, 3 full days. They go home after day 1 and just be exhausted and ready for day 2. Hey,
yeah.
Let me just I gotta answer the door here in the office. I think some kids are coming up to take an AFRAM exam.
Okay.
So let me just open the door.
Okay.
Be right back.
So far, so good.
All right. I'm sure he's right in his office.
I'm gonna close this door, all right, Mark?
I can tell. I can see his awards in the background.
Hey, sorry.
No problem.
Coming in.
All right.
Okay. All right. I'll just jump into the next question.
Mm-hmm.
So, while you're also starting out as an attorney in Oakland, you were coaching high school football, playing semi-pro football, and also doing junior college tennis, cross country, and track and field. So tell me about how you were able to do all those different things while also trying to do law school.
I didn't even know all that, Brock. That's outstanding.
Yeah, I think I just never grew up on. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But I just I liked sport. I loved athletics. I loved playing. Coaching was just like when I got my first job out here. I saw an ad in the Oakland Tribune for Bishop O'Dowd looking for a football coach, and just decided to go over there and introduce myself. And the coach, Paul Paranon, he just walked me out onto the field and introduced me to the coaches and said, he's going to be working with you now. I think the coach was a little like taken aback, like, what? Who is this guy? Yeah. And then I was still playing. I liked still putting on pads, and I was a receiver for the Alameda County Knights. And then I found out about College of Alameda, which is part of the Peralta colleges. They had a tennis program. And I don't know how I got involved in that.
That is awesome.
I like tennis.
I love tennis. It is awesome. It's a hard sport to play. That is awesome to know you did that. Wow.
So went and played there, and I was already in my 30s. And then I happened to be up at Merritt. Merritt was pretty close to where I lived, and they had a weight room. So I was working out in there, and the track coach Nate Slaughter came in and probably thought I was 20 years old or something, and recruited me. Said, you need to be running track and field, and I was like, yeah, okay. How do I do that? What do I have to do? So my working as an attorney became sort of, I was looking for ways to shorten my day. I'd go to court in the mornings, and I'd be done by noon, and try not to schedule any kind of trials or any kind of court hearings in the afternoons if I could. Sometimes I did, but whenever I could, I'd be getting those afternoons off so I could train. And eventually just my work, my work as a lawyer became less and less. I looked for ways to get out of it, and it was it was challenging being a lawyer. I worked in downtown Oakland. I got to see all the problems in the 90s in Oakland. I mean, there was the crack epidemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Families were really separated. It was kids were, selling weed and worse on the streets. And I had to go into, all the neighborhoods and meet families and kids who had been accused of crimes, and to get a real sense of a lot of the problems in Oakland and how miserable
Yeah.
the courts were. So
Yeah.
when I did find Merritt, um, Merritt is like this beautiful campus on the hill in Oakland,
Yeah.
and it just seemed like a place of hope, and a place where the kids were just a thin line away from, being in the same boat as some of the people that I represented downtown. So I just had this kind of this I never felt in my whole life that kind of determination and drive to try to get this position up here. I just knew that this was the place where I could really make a difference in people's lives. Whereas in the courts, it was just not somewhere that you could really have an impact on people in the long term. It was just getting people out of jams,
Yeah.
guy in a suit trying to make deals inside of a system that's really broken and challenging, and really, I could see that I could make a difference up here. And so that really, really drove me. And I got lucky, I think, in a way, just how the coaches here let me come on as a volunteer. And then as I got my master's degree, uh, they all went their separate ways. Curtis Taylor went to Laney College, and he was my mentor in my master's program. And Eddie Hart, who was in the 72 Olympics as a 100-meter sprinter and on the 4x1, he retired and started a nonprofit in Pittsburgh, California, about 45 minutes from here. And Coach Slaughter retired. And so Maurice Compton, who is the AD here and a long employee of Merritt College and a member of the Speed City team at San Jose State in the 60s, he introduced me to college president, and I got hired on as the head coach of track and field and cross country, just having been here for 6 years as a student athlete here, and then just helping out. So
that is, and I think I know you pretty well, Brock. We talk a lot, but that is an awesome story. That is awesome because you saw the courts as a broken system. You're dealing like, I got to get these people out of the jam. I got to do this. You know what? I might make a certain amount of money. I mean, you said it yourself. By noon, you're like, I don't want to go to work. I heard from several people. I remember going to court one time for a traffic violation, and I was just in an elevator. And I remember, buddy said, not a buddy, the guy in the elevator. I was just being quiet, but the guy goes, "Hey, how you doing today?" And the guy next to him goes, "It's never good if you're up in here." So,
yeah,
when I hear,
right.
when you hear court, it's like a bad word, and you're, so I can understand, like, oh, I can go be track coach, but that's unique because you don't hear that. I mean, we interviewed John Elders and Don Stramitz last week, and we were talking about what their majors were and how they became track coaches. And Stram was kind of traditional route PE teacher, but John Elders was computer science, and kind of same thing, fell into it, right? So that is awesome to hear for the kids. So
Yeah, I think as much as I try to talk to our students about goals and staying focused and trying to develop a plan for the future, I can't say that I really had one. All my path has kind of just been always in the back of my mind, pursuing sport and athletics, but not with a real plan.
Yeah.
Just
I
even my
was
way.
the same way. Yeah, I was the same way. You know what I knew? I knew I wanted to work in sports.
Yep.
I always knew that. My dad would say, "You read the newspaper every morning, and you only read the sports page." I was that kid. So and then then real fast. Well, I'm not going to make money in sports being a pro. I'm not that guy. It's like how can I tell people that's how I felt in the coaching. I thought I was going to be a journalist. I think my first major was journalism. And it's all right. So I'll be a sports journalist. And then it was, oh, well, hey, let me start helping my coach. Next thing you know, I'm helping coaching. I was announcing track meets, and then it was, hey, this guy's got a job for you, Cal State Fullerton. It pays $3,000 for the year. You're gonna have to wait tables and work 50 hours a week, but it'll get you in the door. So, I tell people that was my path getting in.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't financially lucrative.
No,
Um,
not at the start.
right. And just I think now it would almost be impossible, maybe, given the costs of the Bay Area or probably LA, to try to make ends meet while you're trying to become, trying to make that money. So I mean, I was part-time for 12 years, and I look back and think, like, I don't know how I made ends meet, but it was definitely a challenge. But I didn't think about it. I'm over here
Yeah,
buying dinners for the team, and
yeah.
just didn't really worry about it.
2003, you began as a head cross country and track coach at Merritt College. Also attended the United States Sports Academy in Daphne, Alabama, near the Gulf Coast. So tell me about what shaped that decision to attend the U.S. Sports Academy, and also your start being a head coach in junior college.
Inga Marshallonis was part of the what was then the PE department. Now it's the kinesiology department, and I had been talking to her. I said, this is the place. This is where I really want to be. And she said, if this is where you really want to be, don't sit on the fence about it. You need to get your master's in kin or PE or a related science. And I thought, man, I already finished law school.
Yeah. Yep.
I gotta go back.
Yeah.
Get
That that's
my master's from the United States Sports
there we go. There we go,
And
Brock.
it was an early online program, and the
Yeah.
only time you had to go to campus was at the end for the oral presentations and a final exam. So I went to Daphne, Alabama in July of 2005 to complete the program. And while I was doing it online, I had Walter Johnson here on campus at Merritt in the computer lab. He was my proctor, took all the tests here for the program, and then went there at the end and got my master's degree. And I mean, I just don't know. I wanted this position so much that I think just the universe just opened the pathway for me. As soon as I got that degree, everybody went their own separate ways, and I was just standing there. I was the
Last man standing.
Yeah.
And then you get the job. Wow.
Got the job and had no, you know, just had to learn it on the fly as far as the
Yeah.
budgeting and the scheduling of the meets and how you buy supplies and equipment here in the Peralta system. No, there was no kind of training. It was just figure it out, go meet people and find some friends who are going to help you through this in the Peralta system. So
a couple of things on that. Yeah, U.S. Sports Academy. I remember that they were like the first online school. I remember because Coach Dolan at UC Santa Barbara went there. I went to Azusa Pacific for my master's, but I remember the U.S. Sports Academy, and I think they're still around. But lots of coaches went there, so that's interesting. But I remember that story. It was, hey, it's online, and then you go there for the last semester or summer or something. But they were highly, I remember people talked about it highly. And then, so talk to me. So you got the Merritt. Now, when you got the Merritt position, they hired you. Like you said, Curtis had left, Eddie Hart had left or retired. Were you full time? Were you part time? Were you teaching? What was it? how'd it go? Because I'm pretty sure Eddie Hart was full time, right? Or was Curtis full time, or how?
You know, only Nate Slaughter was full time. Coach
Okay.
Hart had already retired from College of Alameda, where he was full time, and he coached at College of Alameda. It's a track and field program way back in the 80s, and so he had already semi-retired. Curtis was part-time. He had come down from Skyline High School, and he applied for and received the full-time position at Laney. So there wasn't, and there still isn't a lot of full-time opportunities here. I was hired on part-time. I started as a volunteer, then I was hired on part-time, and was 12 years part-time. I worked in the fitness center. I taught. We had a tennis class. We had a flag football class, weightlifting classes. But I was limited in how many hours I was allowed to do a week. And I look back on it and I think, how on earth did I stick it out for 12 years as a part timer? Paying my rent and making it last year. And I just always kept my eye on the prize of one. I'm gonna treat this job like it's full time. I mean, I always treated it like it was full time, whether
Yeah.
it's part time pay or not. To run
Yeah. I
a
mean,
track and field program.
My first year, like I said, I worked. I got Coach Elders paid me, I think, $2,500 for the year, and I think I did a good job. He gave me $1,000 like bonus. Like, oh, you really do, But I worked at Olive Garden. I drove a car that was like it cost $500. I had bought like at a police auction. I mean, it barely ran. I moved to Orange County within a week of. I worked all summer. I graduated from Northridge. I worked all summer, and then I bought this $500 car. Found an apartment, in Orange County, just renting a room from someone, and waiting tables. So I at the time for you when you were part-time, did you still practice law, or at this point were you to supplement income, like, because they're not paying you anything at a junior college, and it's pretty expensive to live in Oakland, or were you just, like you said, you're just getting by?
Yeah, I think I was making probably. I worked my way up from like 20K to 40K a year,
Yeah.
maybe. By the time I became full time in 2016, I was still only making about 50K. So but I always treated it like my full time position. I didn't work anywhere else. I tried not to do law. Every now and again, I grabbed a case, but I didn't gain any satisfaction out of it. And I always thought it was pulling me away from what I really
Yeah.
wanted to do, which was to have a successful program here and help the students at Merritt. So I just treated it like a full-time position, and eventually that's what it became.
Awesome.
And I just lived efficiently, I guess you would say. I committed everything to this place. I mean, I think it's still that way today. Now, I look back on how I was as a kid following all the different sports, and now, March Madness is on. I haven't seen a game except for
Yeah.
see some highlights, and the World Baseball Classic looked fantastic. I didn't catch a game.
Yeah.
I don't see anything. I'm working here. I'm trying to help our students. I'm trying to run this track program, and now I'm athletic director and trying to take care of all the responsibilities here. And so when I'm done here, I go home and I eat and I go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I lie to myself and I say, I'm going to have time at the end of May. But at the end of May, you got to be recruiting, you got to be bringing in the new students, whatever. It's just a cycle, a yearly cycle that just doesn't stop. So how long can I do it for? I don't know, but I get a lot of satisfaction out of it. So
No, Brock, it's you saying that's what I'm just comment on. You know, and I've said this to many coaches, but a couple of things, parents and athletes, you should appreciate a guy like this. he all he does is coach. All he does is do things to help the university, to help the students. I've worked with him throughout the years. He's done nothing but take his time to get his kids to college, the next level. And he's talking about going from lawyer to, I started at 40 grand, 50 grand. So I always tell people appreciate your coaches, but yeah, I tell people that grind got to me when people say, "Oh, why did you stop coaching collegiate?" And I tell people I have a love-hate relationship. When I'm not doing it, I kind of like miss it. When I'm doing it, I'm like, "What the heck am I doing? I don't need to be doing this anymore." Like I tell people, you have a year-round clock. Like it's like cross country, and then if you do indoor, and then outdoor, and then recruiting, and it starts over. And you say, "I'm going to go do this," and you never have time to do stuff. And um, you know, so it's something and I tell people the other coaches all have an off season. Football, when football's done, they have stuff, but they have an off season. Basketball, they have one. You're a track coach and you're underpaid, and if you do cross country and you do men and women, and you have indoor, but if you have just outdoor and cross country, that's 4 sports. That's a lot of athletes. That's a lot of work.
It's but
sometimes underappreciated work.
Well, yes, secretly in my own mind, I'm involved in, like 30 or 40, 30 for 30s, ESPN 30 for 30s. I'm like, no one's watching this show, but I'm involved in like all these different storylines, and it's really kind of exciting, to be a part of it. And so instead of watching the stuff on TV, I'm living it. I'm living the journeys of all these different students, and being a small part of it. It's really this is really satisfying to be there. I got this documentary running in my head for each student. It's pretty fun.
Every student has a story. Every student has a different need. That's awesome though. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And then I got the keys to all these facilities. I got the keys to a basketball gym, tennis courts, a track and field, stadium, weight room. I mean, it's just unbelievable that I walk around with the keys to all these athletic facilities. Like
you can go work out when you want.
King of the world.
Yeah. Let me go play baseball game at night with my buddies.
I'm almost 60 years old though, but hey, the price you pay to get the keys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. So they say coaching athletes at a junior college is like running a fast food franchise. Once you get them in, you've got to start thinking about getting them out again. You only have 2 years to prepare these players for a 4-year school and the next level. So talk about how sometimes that can be a frustrating task, and talk about working within limitations of a junior college program.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with kind of the fun part currently is that I've had some of the students that are here now went through the pandemic with me and have been here in their 3rd year, and one guy's in his 4th year, and it's the first time I've had students this long. Mm-hmm. So man, I get to feel what it's like as a 4-year coach to be able to work with students for that extended period. It's been really, really fun because the trust and the relationship is strong by the 3rd year. And I never really had that opportunity as much as I've had because of the pandemic, that these kids have, a lot of them this year on this year's team have stuck it out through the whole way. And so that's been really interesting, and a big difference between the usual 2 years. One of our guys, Christian Traps, he transferred after a year last year, went to Cal. So I only had him here for 1 year. And that sucks. That sucks in a way because, like you said, it's like a fast food restaurant. They come in and then we got to move them on to the next level. And it's short, but it's long enough still at community college to, for the right student athlete, this buffer between high school and a university, this 2 years is a period where I've seen tremendous growth. Our students physically mature, athletically mature, academically mature. So it is like this small window, 2 years, but it's 2 years between high school and university where these students can get to a certain maturity level where they're ready for university. And when they came out of high school, maybe they were going to transfer to a smaller, less known, maybe D3 program or NAIA program. And now coming out of Merritt, they're more qualified academically and athletically to move on to a D2 or D1 program. So I think community college for the right person, it's academically and athletically, there's huge advantages. And then lastly, the financial advantage is gigantic. Student out of high school, these kids get recruited to some really strange places. When I'm out recruiting and a student tells me they're going to somewhere in Idaho or Missouri to some school I've never heard of, because the track coach called them and they don't have to pay the whole thing. They're going to get, a small scholarship. Well, they're still going to owe 20,000 after their first year. And I'm like, man, if they came to Merritt, most of our students get their Pell Grants. When I help the students with FAFSA, and they're going to get $6,800 in their pocket, as opposed to it going to some small school in a random state in the middle of the country. So financially, our students make money to go to college and get their degree instead of going into debt. Even if students don't qualify for FAFSA, if their families make some money, they're still going to get the fee waiver, so they don't pay tuition. So almost, well, I would say all now through the pandemic, we've been all students are coming to college for free, and we're getting some of this COVID funding. So there's COVID funding, there's Pell Grant, there's Cal Grant. So people are getting their college degree at community college where we have small classes and dedicated instructors. And I've been here so long, I know who the good instructors are and who the instructors are that you might want to avoid. I know the pathways to the university level. So, I mean, there's really not a downside unless I suppose the one downside is kids want to leave home when they're 18. They're ready to go, and sometimes their parents are ready for them to go. So
they want to leave the snow.
Yeah. Some of these kids want to go to the snow. That's what's I try to tell them. I was like, that's, you got to experience things for yourself, I guess. But I don't know.
I was going to say, you made a lot of good points. I'll comment on them. I'll comment from my point of view, as a coach, as a former student. So I'll comment, right now, community college as a student if you're not going to a major school right away, which is paying for a lot of your stuff. I mean, if you, for instance, if you go to UCLA right out of high school as a student or a student athlete, and they're paying you a scholarship or you're getting a lot of financial aid covered and you're not coming at a cost, obviously, I would say go to UCLA and take that deal. I think even Brock would say that. But if you're that kid who, like you said, a lot of people on your team, they're not ready to go D1. Like even if they're physically not. But it's a great buffer. You said that I've been in your workouts. It gets them ready for D1 workouts, because if you're a high-end D1 program or a D2 program, the workouts and weight is much harder. So if you're from high school and you're from an underdeveloped program and you haven't really trained, that 2-year college is a buffer. And then you got a coach that's looking out for you. They're giving you uniforms. You're getting meets in to develop as an athlete. But like you said, pretty much everyone in California, you can go to junior college for free. So I'll say, even perception. I coached at Beverly Hills High School for a couple of years. And let me tell you something. That school is full of people who have 1,500, 1,400 SAT scores. And as a public school, it's Beverly Hills Unified, and a lot of the kids, they want to go to these high-end they want to go to Ivy Leagues or high-end Division III schools, like the Claremont colleges. like the really good academic was Amherst, Williams, these schools. But I'll tell you this, and this is where the business part comes out. So parents, listen to this and listen to what Brock said. I've seen the students go, you know what, coach, I really want to go to UCLA. I didn't get admitted. And this is a kid with like a 1450 SAT score. I'm like, you didn't get admitted to UCLA. But the kid will go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to Santa Monica College for 2 years. They got this direct plan to UCLA. And the kid will be like, I'm going to just save all this money and I'm going to be at UCLA in 2 or USC in 2 semesters. And I'm going to go to Santa Monica College and I'm not going to have to pay anything. And I'm still going to go to UCLA or USC.
Right. It's an amazing opportunity and pathway that parents need to recognize. I think, there's a status kind of a bias against the JCs for no really good reason, but parents think it's some kind of a step down or a slap in the face, but really it's a huge opportunity. So
it is. I think from a student standpoint, I'll say this. I remember being in high school and graduating and everyone saying, oh, I'm going to this college, I'm going to this college. I'll be honest, that's where the perception and I remember the local college for Hawthorne was El Camino. And it was like, in my classes, I thought I did not want to tell anyone I was going to El Camino. It was like I almost go anywhere but El Camino. It was that perception. Now that I'm older, I'm like, man, that's cheaper. I probably should have. But people say, why'd you go to Northridge? I'll be honest. Northridge got me in school. They were the one school that came out and they recruited me and a few of my buddies, and we went to Northridge. We were like, we're going to Northridge. We're not going to El Camino, and it worked out for us. But you do have that perception from kids and parents. I just don't want to go to community college. But from a business, financial standpoint, maturity standpoint, things, it's probably most of the kids as a college coach, when I was coaching, I recruited were from junior college.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I mean, that was great. I was so happy to have found a coach that was open to community college transfers, and you were gave opportunities to our students to come to Cal State LA that I'm forever grateful for that, and for your openness and willingness to take on junior college athletes, because that opened a door for us, and that was great.
I felt as a coach that junior college athletes had 2 years and they didn't have any time to waste. And as a coach, I'd hate to say, I thought it was a hedge on my investment, because if it was a bad decision, I only had them there for 2 years. They didn't perform the way I wanted, or they were trouble or what. But at the same time, you found out they were a lot more developed coming through a junior college program to handle my workouts than maybe a developmental high school kid, because they have, if you go to Merritt's practice or Mount Sacs practice or stuff, or Riverside's, those kids were ready to go for me. So I liked them. And like I said, they had 2 years, and if they were a really serious student, it was like, I got 2 years to get my degree. Coach is paying me two or 3 year scholarship, and I got to get out of here.
Right. Yeah. You made a good point about, you're hedging your bet. Sometimes, we'll get students who are a handful, and then I just remind myself, it's just 2 years.
Yep. Yep.
Just 2 years, gotta stick it out. Maybe, we can make some changes, but if not, it's it's not forever. So
2018, get named Merritt College Athletic Director. Tell me about how you got up to that point and what that felt like, being named athletic director, spending so many years at the university, pouring your heart and soul into it.
I had always helped Coach Compton. He was the athletic director for many years. Throughout my whole stay at Merritt, really, he was the athletic director. And he'd been here for many years. When he retired, he was here for over 50 years. And so he was kind of a figurehead and a good speaker, but not really that functional when it came to the computer stuff, and like the details of eligibility and doing all the filings with the state. And so I was there to help him do all that stuff, and I learned, a lot of the responsibilities of the AD, the nuts and bolts responsibilities of doing the eligibility and program reviews and some of the budget stuff. So, and then from my perspective as a track coach, I saw things that needed to be done college athletic program wise that weren't being done that I thought I could make a difference in. So when Coach Compton retired, they did our college president appointed somebody else as AD, and that lasted for about like 2-3 years, and finally had my opportunity to throw my hat in the ring and become the AD here, and started out in 2018 and took that on, and now that was something that I wanted. And when I look back on it, I sometimes when I'm doing the AD work, I think, man, it'd be nice just to be a coach again. Could only just be a coach again.
Be careful what you ask for.
Right. Yeah.
But talk to us about being an AD a little bit while you're on, and talk to us. There's very few track coaches are AD, so I think that's extremely impressive. I think that helps all the coaches in the California community college ranks. I think it does, just because you're aware of it. You're aware of the struggles, but now I'm sure there's some issues because you are now in charge of, or supervising football, basketball. I'm sure it can help your program in some ways, but at the same time, you can't take away from the other programs. You got to pick and choose your battles. You got to know, but to talk to us about that, being an administrator.
Well, we don't have football, so we're
okay.
a small athletics program. We have basketball, women and men's basketball, women and men's soccer, cross, and track. So I only added the men and women's soccer, men and women's basketball. But you're right, like we always had basketball oriented ADs. Even though Coach Compton ran track in college, he still was a big basketball guy.
Yeah.
Assistant coach on the basketball team, and was a big kind of supporter of the basketball programs. And when I became AD, I found out that lo and behold, kind of basketball was getting the lion's share of the budget. I wasn't aware of that. I'm over here scraping, scrimping, paying out of pocket for things, and find out that the travel budget for basketball is huge.
Yeah.
So I think there's more balance now. I haven't cheated those programs, but I balanced it out now. So we're getting our fair share of the budget now, and it's more equitable. And it should be. I mean, basketball, you got 5 players. No, I might not go there, but you only get 5 players on the floor.
It's good that you say that. I've always said you got to take care of football and basketball. If you have football at the school and basketball, you always have to support it. Just those. It's never good to go fight against those. But you made some good points. I would say to people, how much. Community college wise, okay. Besides you guys maybe going out of town to Southern California for a couple tournaments, you play in a gym. Weather's not an issue. Most of the places you go to are local. Like you said, it's only a handful of guys. At a community college level, I would think that budget doesn't need to be nearly as much as maybe like your outdoor track and field. Your budget has to be higher. You have more kids. The weather is bad. It plays a factor. Like you have to go down to Southern California, I would say, for some meets or two, just for your kids to get an opportunity because of the weather up north. I know that from recruiting. I would just hear from the coaches, "Oh, we get meets rained out," So I'm sure baseball, tennis, anything outdoors up there. And I was at San Jose State, so I know it's a challenge up there. Like the schools up north want to go down south. So,
right, yeah. I mean, this year has been a nightmare.
Yeah, it hasn't stopped raining, and we're in LA, so I can't imagine up there.
Yeah, it's just yesterday we had this bomb cyclone thing happen again. I mean, I was just sitting in my office here and looking outside, and just sheets of rain and wind, and it's been that way right through December, all the way to now. So, getting meets and making sure that our students are seen and they're having the opportunity is extremely important. And then I don't know, as an athletic director, having more control. I think the best part of being an athletic director is being able to see that budget, knowing what we have, what we need, being able to impact what we need, trying to make changes. We just got our last year, we got a new gym floor, we got new backboards with the shot clock timing
Yeah,
lights on them. We got shot clocks, we got scoreboards, we got 2 shooting machines. I mean, we hooked it up in that gym. Our
yeah,
gym looks 1,000 times better than it's looked in decades. And then this year we just got a new turf put in for the first time in 20 years, and we had our track resurfaced.
outstanding.
We're just getting back on our track now. It was kind of a nightmare, wait through this weather trying to get that project done. But now we're back on our track. It's resurfaced. It's a little bit softer on the legs. Looks beautiful. We're having a youth track meet on Saturday, Margaret Dixon Invitational or PAL Community youth track meet. So that's going to be the first event on our new facility. So just having the ability to kind of make that impact on facilities, making sure that our students have quality facilities, quality supplies and equipment, that's a huge advantage of being the athletic director, is trying to advocate for that to the administrators and let them know, what our needs are and why it's important. Um, so having that opportunity is great. And then just being able to not have, I still have people over me, vice president of student
Yeah,
services, and then the president of the college. But I mean, I don't have to answer to another AD for our
yeah,
track and field program. I mean, if there's something that we need for track and field, if Sac State canceled their meets this year. We were supposed to go up there last weekend. Well, I didn't have to go beg and plead with an athletic director to let me go to another meet. I just found another meet and we went.
yeah.
And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
advantage, advantage of being the boss, I guess, of the program.
No, that is excellent. And like you say, if I'm the president, I'm like, man, I got this guy that's been here. He was a lawyer. He started up as a part-time coach. He's been here all these years, and now he's my AD. I'm extremely happy, and I'm so awesome.
Yeah. One of those coaches who might be the man one day just walked in, assistant coach Jordan Alford Helms.
There you go.
Jordan, look at him. He
Hey,
graduate of Merritt College in 2010, track and field, 100, 200 sprinter, and on the relays, went to JuCo State on transfer, then got his master's at Cal State East Bay.
There you go.
Back here at Merritt now as head coach across and assistant track. And so that's how
Cycle works.
the cycle, yeah.
sir.
So
I gotta go.
I'll see you.
Awesome. So yes, just wanted to piggyback on your beginnings as an attorney and doing law school. So how much did your attorney experience help translate into being a junior college athletic director?
I think it was huge. Just the ability to have good written skills. I think as a writer, I'm a lot better than as a speaker. But law school, I had to do both. I mean, I had to learn both. I had to become a better speaker. I had to become a better writer. And then as a lawyer, I mean, it was all about going to court regularly and speaking on behalf of clients who needed a strong advocate. And then writing motions or all the documentation that had to be filed as a lawyer. And that's paid off as an athletic director. I'm constantly having to communicate with our administration and intercollegiately, and I have to do that through emails and go advocate in person. So I think that's what law school helped me with, and I guess that was part of the path. Like I'd say, if I didn't do that, maybe I wouldn't be in this position. So
Yeah, I would imagine your emails to your administrators come off from a very legalese background. You're able to write things very logically, and like there are things you're gonna know that I'm gonna where people can't. They're like, oh wow, he's right to the point. His facts are right. He's instead of someone just writing a memo, I don't like this. I don't like that. You're able to get your point across, and when you're able to clearly get your point across, and people go, "Oh, this person's smart. He's straight to the point. You know what? He's right." You start getting your way more. When you can legally or say an articulate way, doing this is going to help this and that. It's going to help the Title IX, whatever. It's going to help this. This facility should be used for women, whatever. You're able to get those new facilities. You're able to get, this is going to be used for students, not just athletes. So,
yeah, I think you're right. Like the tone of communications is always got to be professional and logical and
yeah,
grammatically sound. And I think I gained that perspective partly through law school, and just partly through experience and being here and knowing the system.
mm-hmm.
I think everywhere there are systems and there are people, and having good systems really helps bring out the best in people, and sometimes challenging systems require the best in people, and so sometimes if you have ineffective systems and ineffective people, then that can be really bad. So
Yeah.
so I'm just trying to be an effective person and try to make systems that are effective for our students' success. And yeah.
Just want to get any more final closing thoughts. What are some of the most rewarding parts of being a coach and athletic director?
Helping students and seeing the students grow. And after so many years now, being able to look at the students who come in now, not as 18-year-old kids, but as future real estate agents or lawyers or doctors or program managers or whatever it is that they may become. I have to look at them that way and remember that they're here for a short time to build a life that's going to be better than where they came from. They're trying to build a future, and I think every parent wants their kids to be more successful than them, and I keep that in mind and know that I'm a small part of that journey, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Brock, I got one or two more questions to finish up, and then any final comments. But some NCAA rules. You're dealing with sending kids to NCAA. A lot of new stuff happening. Transfer portal, that's big. So maybe I don't know how it's affected you track. I've heard it from the football guys. I've heard. Has the NCAA transfer portal had an effect on you guys getting bounce backs, kids back from other school? Has it hurt you as a community college where maybe a kid is transferring to from a 4-year school to a 4-year school because they don't have to sit out anymore, and so they're not going to go to junior college? And people are asking me a lot about that. I got a lot of high school kids who the high school coaches have said to the kids, this transfer portal has changed things. If you're a developmental high school kid, it's a lot harder to get a scholarship in football or basketball because the coach can just go to the transfer portal and grab a kid. So I've heard it's essentially probably helped the community colleges, maybe especially in those other sports. So if you're a good high school kid, but not maybe a great high school football player, now you're going to go to the junior college because, if you're at a good small school, I'm UCLA, I could take all the good kids from the small schools. It's a trickle. It seems like to be a trickle down effect.
Yeah, I think we're sort of in the process of seeing how that's going to impact recruiting for track and field. When I've been out recruiting, students unfortunately do say, well, I'm just going to go here because if I don't like it, I can go somewhere else. I can transfer out and use the transfer portal. And so it's kind of another challenge for me as a recruiter to try to convince that student, just come to Merritt, to community college level, and we'll get you ready, and you won't have to go to the transfer portal at all. I mean, we'll just get you ready for your 4-year university, and you'll be able to stick wherever you go. But I think it's good for students. I like that they have the opportunity, if they're not having a good experience, to move somewhere else. But also, I guess I can see the downside of that. Sometimes if people jump around too much, they never get any kind of stability. And some kids have called me when they transferred. Devon Wilson Angel transferred to Long Beach State. I remember him calling me early on and saying how much he missed Merritt, and it was hard there, and he didn't meet anybody. And man, I mean, he had a great experience there. He won 2 Big West titles in the 110 hurdles. He met his fiance and now wife there and had a great experience, but it took a little time. So kids who might jump into a portal and not really stick it out and grow and mature and find their place at a college, maybe there's that downside to having the opportunity to jump around a lot.
All right, my last comment before we go, we'll start to wrap it up, is here's your chance. Oakland's always been a hotbed of talent, Northern California, but specifically Oakland. Like you said, Coach Curtis, he was there. I remember him being some powerful Oakland high schools, and Laney and you guys. But let's leave us with this. Tell people about Merritt College, what you guys can do for all the parents and kids out there interested, looking for a top quality program with a coach that's been there, that cares, with it's going to try to push you out the door.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, we have now a brand new facility, and we have people that care. The financial, academic, and athletic opportunities of community college, and specifically Merritt, are unrivaled. We have great success, especially with the sprints, jumps, and hurdles. And we're having increased success with middle distance. But now I got some throwers this year. So a lot of times we keep it really focused, but we're ready to, we can expand into any area of track and field and develop our student athletes. I mean, I've got the contacts at the 4-year universities to be the advocate for our students instead of them having to advocate for themselves. I mean, they've got somebody here who is going to make the pitch to 4-year coaches why our student athletes should be moving on to their programs. And I've got the YouTube channel going. I've had it since 2008. I film all the performances, put them up. Now I'm getting more involved in Instagram. So getting these performances up, and I just think it's a great opportunity for a student who needs an academic fresh start, who doesn't want to go into debt financially, and who needs that 2-year period to develop their track and field skills so that they are an attractive candidate to 4-year university. So like you said, if they had the dream of UCLA, but they got into some school in Ohio that's an NAIA school with some that nobody's heard of, then come to Merritt College and we'll get you where you want to go. That's the pitch.
There you go. Well, thanks, Brock. I really appreciate it. You keep up the good work.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Alex. I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to come on the show. What a show.
All right. We're going to try to get it going.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you. Nice to meet you too.
All right.
All right. See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.